The world turns, and with each turn, a change. And each change makes it more complex, unpredictable, enigmatic. The world keeps turning. And from the Pellicer and Heredia practice, we anticipate everything that is going to happen. Brexit, artificial intelligence, new commercial borders, legal tech. The world keeps turning, and it commands the reliance on international lawyers who are capable of interpreting this new reality with integrity, honesty, and transparency, offering answers to so many new questions. Whatever it is, ask us. At Pellicer and Heredia, we know how.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on the 16th of September, 2025. And today we're proud to welcome back from the summer holidays, obviously. We hope you all have a great summer. And Pedro and myself, we thought it would be good to catch up because of the good news we received in the summertime in August. Let me introduce you today. I've got Pedro Heredia. Hello, Pedro. Can you listen to me?
Hello, Ignacio. I can listen to you and see you well. Hello, everyone.
Right. I think we're missing Michael, but I think he's got a little bit of an accident. He said he twisted his feet, and I don't know whether he's going to be able to make it. So today we're going to talk about the legal scenario about residents and non-residents in Spain who are obliged to submit the non-resident tax. I don't know, Pedro, if you would like to please start with a few bits and pieces about what we have received so far about the Audiencia Nacional, the High Court in Madrid, about non-European residents being able to deduct expenses on their rental properties. But if you want to refresh their memories, Pedro, just brief lines about non-resident tax. Over to you.
I will. Thank you, Ignacio. I will just make a brief summary. I'm sure that everyone which is listening to us right now, in some way, is affected to this tax, which affects to those who are non-residents and out of European Union residents that maybe had a property in Spain. But let's put the scenario how this came from and in order to put some starting point. Recently, we had a resolution by Audiencia Nacional, which is one of the highest court. It could be appealing to the Tribunal Supremo, which is the Supreme Court, and then to the European Union Tribunal. But this Audiencia Nacional is, let's say, is one of the highest court in Spain. And this resolution that was registered in 2021 has had this estimation in favor of those who are resident in non-European Union countries on the 28th of July 2025. This resolution is easily to find it. I mean, if anyone wants to get a copy of that, it's in Spanish, but it's easily to translate. It's not too long. It's some pages, but this comes from a USA American citizen that had a property in Barcelona, and at the end, in some way, from 2015 and 2019, it has like two appeals in terms of I made a payment of 24% as those who are non-residents in the European Union residents. They have a property in Spain. They pay 24% gross amount without being able to deduct costs. So, assuming that he was paid and then claimed back, it was that fight against the tribunal, these administrative tribunals, against this kind of resolution in order to apply back this money that was, according to the arguments by this American resident, was unfair to pay more than those who are residents in European Union countries and have a property in Spain and was also renting these properties. was rejected, and then again was rejected in 2000, and it was 2016, 15, 16, 18, 17, 18. But at the end, this came through in order to rectify. At the end, the latest one was on the 13th of April 2019. And at the end, it was an appeal in 2021, and now is that where we have this resolution. So it has taken a lot of time. As it happened the same, maybe some of you are able to remember what happened with the inheritance tax, that in some way was non-equivalent to those who were non-residents in a European Union country and were residents in non-European Union countries. Was a big difference between those ones who maybe have a benefit because the role or the attraction was to some specific region in Spain that has some benefits, and because they were residents in the non-European Union countries, they didn't have this benefit and had to pay the general tax percentage. So this came from, as I said, from 2015, 16, 18, 19, and then with appeal, the latest appeal was in 2021 and ended up in 2025 in Audiencia Nacional resolution, which basically says, okay, well, there is this inheritance tax that it was held. It was in Supreme Court in 2021. It was in the European Union Tribunal in 2023 that was finally held this to eliminate this discrepancy, this discrimination that has those residents in non-European Union countries with the ones who were residents in European countries. Is this non-resident tax because of paying a difference as being resident in a non-European country? The main point of all this is the principles of the European Union. One of them is a free movement of capital. It is really one of the fundamental pillars of a European market. It's one of the fundamental pillars and because of that, it's been many precedents, many jurisprudencia, many precedents and resolutions that we can, let's say, have a power of arguments in favor of digital discrimination against those residents that in the non-European Union countries and those who are residents in European countries are not having this discrimination. And there are inheritance tax. We have differences because also some rules that was also equivalent with some investment funds that have some activity in Spain. And there are many precedents on this, but there were no precedents on this specific issue. And this Audiencia Nacional says, oh, well, because of the appeal of the previous Tribunal Económico Central, Administrativo Central, it was saying, okay, well, because we don't have any precedents and you are resident outside Spain and the connection with the income that you get and you don't have a permanent establishment, then according to the non-resident tax, you are out of this line, and then it's just the European Union residents who can get this benefit that it changed the percentage between 24%, which is non-European Union residents, has to pay gross amount of that, and European Union residents is 19% being able to get some deductions. Apart from that, there is also an appeal, which is still is held. I've tried to find, but it's still active in terms of, okay, well, I resident, I can get some reductions on the base because if I rent, for example, long-term contracts. So that also is going to be an issue in the future. At this time, we still need to wait for that. And this is just to summarize a little bit about this. If anyone wants to have any question, please, this is the moment. This is why we're here. I mean, obviously, we don't have a crystal ball what's going to happen, but at this time, we understand it's going to be appealed by the public lawyer. So we'll be waiting for the Supreme Court, and then obviously we understand it will end up in the European Union Tribunal. What to do now? Well, that's the key point, really. What recommendations are many tax advisors are recommending to start claiming back this money because of the prescription of 4 years. You just can apply for the last 4 years. So if you wait until the Supreme Court resolution, or you wait to the European Union, maybe it takes 3 or 4 or 5 years more, that you will not be able to apply back this money. According to, I have read, many tax advisors are recommending this to apply back this money, and it's being rejected. So you need to appeal. I mean, this is part of the path, really. It was expected that it was going to be any claim now because of this resolution. It's expected that it's going to be rejected. So it's not going to be given like easily. So you need to appeal against the following, in this case, a tribunal. So it's obviously has opened the doors in order to, this resolution has opened the door to claim this money that I understand that has been paid unfair because of this discrimination, because this principle of the European Union about free movement of capital has been discriminated by these Spanish rules and non-resident tax discrimination against the residents of non-European Union countries. And well, I mean, a request of this unfair paid is something that you need to speak with your tax advisor and with calm, see which is what is in favor and what is against, in case that you at the end maybe is rejected by European Union. We don't expect that at all, because all the precedents, all the path in favor of residents of non-European Union countries. We have many in this case history on this, so we expect that it's going to be good. And Ignacio, for me, this is, I mean, just a brief summarize on this, and but obviously something that I understand people will say, okay, well, should I do it or not? What is your recommendation? Well, my recommendation probably is, I mean, to be brave and go against the tax office. That will be my recommendation according to the information that we have, but obviously something that needs to be decided by the client according to the possible risk or future risk in terms of costs, in terms of, but the money has already been paid. So it's just well, why not to apply for that now and not lose those years that it will take to have let's say a confirmation and by the Supreme Court and the European Union Tribunal.
Okay, thank you very much, Pedro. I fully agree. And thank you for your presentation. I really think it is quite important and quite a big decision now for people to say, well, how do I work out my non-resident tax? Well, let's bear in mind just a few reminders. For those who have a property in Spain, only living in a property occasionally, you'll have to do the non-resident tax from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. So that hasn't changed at all. For those who decide to rent it out, then nothing has changed as well, because you'll be used to provide your accountants all the information before the 1st of January of each year, and the accountant will have the capacity to lodge your income tax return as a non-tax resident until the 20th of January. So you'll have to comply all this information, lodge it through, and now, thanks to this sentence, you can use the interpretation about deducting if you're a non-European resident, obviously, to deduct. So what this Audiencia Nacional has discussed is the right about the deduction for the non-Europeans. Now, obviously, there is certain things that they haven't said, and we didn't get Pedro here, will be about the type of tax. We still have 19% when you're a European versus 24% if you're non-European. Whenever you sell your property, it is now obviously very clear that it's always 19%. So you will have, if you sold the property, you've got 3 months to do your non-resident income tax for the sale and pay the 19% minus the 3% retainer that you have already paid. That is if you made a profit. If you didn't make a profit, then obviously you'll go for a rebate. Obviously, the sentence didn't get into about the deductions, Pedro, the discrimination we still have if it's a long-term rental or if it's a short-term rental. Okay, well, obviously, whether you're a European, non-European, whether you're a resident, non-resident, is different type of tax. They didn't say anything about that. What they have really set very clear is that you are entitled to deduct expenses, and therefore that will benefit you. Now you will have the question, Ignacio, Pedro, what shall we do from now onward? As Pedro very well said, the sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to ask for that money back. And obviously, if you don't do it, you're going to lose because the only option you've got to claim is up to 4 years, either for you or for the tax office. The tax office will never go back more than 4 years against you. And you can never go back to 4 years, more than 4 years, to claim any money that you have paid incorrectly. Okay? So, I mean, Pedro, I know it could be very uncertain yet, because as you said, they still appeal the decision through the courts, but the interpretation is obvious and it will make sense according to what the High Court and the Audiencia Nacional have already said. They are based their argument on the Article 63 of the treaty, as Pedro stated, that the restrictions about freedom of capital between the member states and third countries when there hasn't been justified. So the discrimination is a big thing in about treaties as well, dual taxation treaties, especially the one we already have in place, UK, Spain, that it does not allow unfair treatment between nationals or residents from different states. Okay, so good. The bottom line here, I would like to recall, and then we could please start sending us your questions. Is that one is good news. The Audiencia Nacional has established that it's fair according to the European treaties, to the dual taxation treaties that we all are having with different countries, that you all will be able to deduct, if you wish, the expenses of your rental income. Okay, and is not great because it didn't go into a lot of details about different things, because everyone should appeal whatever decision they have. So this American client, as Pedro stated, decided to contest and appeal a specific, and it was based only about the expenses. Right, Pedro, would it be worth it to start running through questions that they might bring?
Yeah, why not? Let's start this. Yes.
And again, I would like to recall the audience here that the period of time for you to do is from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. Okay, this is a calendar year in Spain. If you did spend less than 183 days, you're obliged to do your non-resident income tax return as long as you have a property in Spain. Now, then you'll have two questions. Did you rent it out? If you did, and you did live in the property even different days, or you had at your disposal, you need to do two types of non-resident income tax return. The one about the income you have generated minus expenses, and then you pay the tax from the 1st of January to the 20th of January. And then you still have a calendar year for the other income tax return property, which is based on the days you've been having that property at your discretion. Just as a reminder here, I would like to point out that the way for you to work out, obviously, the non-resident tax, it is 19% for Europeans, 24% for non-European, but then timing is different, property being rent out, property not being rent out. And then The way you might think, now, how do you work out? We will need the cadastral value or the property title deed value. I always recommend cadastral value because it's cheaper and it's tax value and it's acceptable. And it will be 1.1% of that value or either 2% accordingly if the cadastral value is being updated within 10 years or not. And then out of that, you will pay that value. The percentage you will pay will be 19% or 24%. Okay. Everything can be done by direct debit nowadays as well, through the tax office, through your accountant. And Pedro, after this summary, I mean, trying to refresh everybody's memory, which I'm sure they know about it. Shall we start with the questions and answer? And please feel free to send it. And if we were able to answer to them, we will straight away. Okay, Pedro, over to you.
Okay. Let's say with the official model of 210 form does not provide a way to declare expenses where non-rent is exited. How do you suggest declaring rental income? As far as we understand, I mean, obviously it's been checked by our tax department. The model 210 has been changed slightly with in order to include expenses in this case. Okay.
It will be eventually, Pedro. Yeah, the form,
Yeah.
the Modelo 210 will be changed eventually, but nowadays it cannot be done. Yeah, nowadays they still haven't updated, so it will be
Well,
done.
yeah, but Ignacio, as far as I know, I mean, it's been changed. It's been changed.
It's been changed. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, it's some days ago. Yeah. I mean, it's been changed. What else? Let me just check. Following question. Should we have our property rental tax for 2025 with deductions? Property rental tax, you mean the understanding means the copy of council tax. Property rental tax is the 210, you mean? With the deductions, I understand this will have to be, I mean, I assume that with this resolution for next year, for 2025, should be done. This is our recommendation. This is what we said, with deductions. I cannot see very well. This is why, let me just check it because when I say property, I thought it was going to be bad. Okay, following question from Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. To be clear, if I request for the reform, what I potentially get will be the difference between 24 I paid and 19%. Oh, well, thank you for this question. Maybe I did explain not correctly. I mean, 24% is going to be done anyway. It's just the deductions. Deduction don't cost us. Okay. 24% is for non-European Union residents and 19% will be for European Union residents. But as far as I can see here. Okay, let's go through the following question. We should include, Ignacio, let's include some list of expenses that we can include on the deductions. We can copy and paste on because I think there are some questions about that. At the end, the deductions are the costs that you are having on the property in terms of having this rental long-term activity. I mean, this is something that it is according to the days that is rented, according to, for example, in insurance, electricity, water, less about interest of a mortgage, about depreciation, about any cost you may have about the plumber, anything that helps into the rental that is gonna be attached to the rental because it's needed for a rental, will be included. We will include a list right in a few minutes.
I don't know if Marta is listening, but probably Marta already has in place a list, like an example of deductions, right? But basically here, Trevor, you will think if you have a business like renting a property, whatever pretty much makes that property rentable, right? So I will always keep all the invoice for the property, and obviously every single expense you will need to face to be able to rent out that property. that will be my general. But I hope, I don't know if Marta could provide us with a list, but try, Trevor, to have it as wide as possible, whatever you could think of, to deduct it, as long as you could justify is necessary for the business. Okay, and only, and I forgot to mention this, Pedro, you will only
Mhm.
offset that proportion during the days you're renting it out. Let's
Yeah,
say you
that's
have community
exactly,
fees, yeah, you have water, electric. Okay, you cannot put all the water bills, all the
exactly.
electric, and only rent it out 10 days. Okay,
That
so
makes
it will be
common
a bit.
sense, and I'm sure that all the people are now. So, I mean, it's been explained probably by all the tax advisors. At the end, you cannot rent one month and try to deduct all the costs for all the year. It's sensible. At the end, you need to be very accurate on this.
Hmm. Okay, okay, Pedro, just please carry on. Yeah.
Um, okay. Let's make a list and let's put it on the on the on the chat so everyone can see it, and we can also just to read it. We normally what we do is that when to all of our clients we send a form where appears all the list of the deductions, so you can easily include the costs, and obviously we train our clients in terms of giving us some Excel document, in terms of giving us all these information to be able to deduct on the days, and everything needs to be very accurate. And I have to say that most of our clients are very accurate, all of them, I would say, very accurate, and in terms of giving us all the proper information. And at the end, if something that we see that is not correct, we obviously the tax department informs them. But it's something that it's important to know because you cannot deduct everything. It's something that, I mean, I have seen like payment of the mortgage, well, cannot be included. And what about if you invest on a property? What kind of investment can be deducted? Well, it's not normally most of investment will not be included. But what about depreciation? What is the value of depreciation? These issues we included in the list. We will try to send it in a few minutes. Okay, and but it's important to to have a confidence in terms of, well, what if I start applying for that, because it's going to take some years in terms of getting a European Union Tribunal resolution. We expect that in favor of what is being said by the Audiencia Nacional, and we expect also will be in the Supreme Court as well, confirming this point, because it has already been done that way in the past in similar cases. So in similar cases where the fundamental pillar is Article 63, which is the free movement of capital, and with resident and non-resident European Union countries. So the scenario is exactly the same, but the content, let's say the specific issue is different, but it has the same flavor. And this is why, well, in terms of, well, evaluate which is the cost of doing it, which in my opinion is something that shouldn't be too much cost in terms of, well, let's go to something like as a principle in order to apply what is your money. And obviously, if it's going to cost you more than what are you going to expect it to get, is not something to agree, but something to say, well, as a principle to apply for that, and not to cost you a lot of money, really. Something that, well, something with sense of common in terms of what is going to get. Difficult to know, difficult to evaluate. You need to negotiate it with your tax advisors, but it's something that I understand that because of this damage it's been done to those non-residents or residents in European Union, non-European Union countries, and the damage that is really the tax office is doing to the world, really, because I mean, we understand that the reputation of tax office in Spain is really bad. It's really bad. We can see scenarios as well, Ignacio, about the Beckham law, which it has a specific requirements to get them, specific requirements to do it. And for some issues, we understand that many people probably could be doing it wrongly, but we also understand that many people has crossed the line in terms of doing things badly. But tax office is really revising many issues right now. It's being very aggressive. So at the end, if you do everything on the legalities in terms of being a tax efficient structure system, a formula, but obviously on the legal system in terms of paying less taxes as possible. That's perfect. But tax office, obviously, we are getting that this bad reputation to revise, and at the end, in many occasions, that you cannot, or you don't want to, you prefer to pay something and not go to a fight against the tax office because it's going to cost you a lot more. It's not your country. You don't want to have any litigation against anyone. Even tax office is getting this in favor, and many people is not starting any claim against the tax office because of his well, at the end is not a good scenario to anyone. But this is something that is happening, and this favor, I mean, maybe 100% of people should be applying for that. Maybe 20, 30, 10% is applying for that. So at the end, the tax office wins in these cases, just as a matter of a small percentage that claims the rights, really. So this is why we recommend, I mean, in my opinion, I recommend that to all of them, to all the people that has this scenario to apply for. The grounds are perfect to do it. No one can guarantee anything, but it's just as a principle, they should be doing it. I can see that as well. Many other tax advisors has already given some free modelos to apply for. It's just to download some modelos on writing arguments and which are good. I assume they are good. And in order to reduce the costs, do things easily, give confidence to clients to start because of that. Because at the end, it looks like it's gonna be a positive future of this. Okay, Ignacio. I think there are some other questions here, and we still have time. Trevor. Well, thank you, Trevor. Who do I contact to change my account over to you? Well, we will contact you in a few minutes or after the webinar. Someone in our office will contact you, Trevor. And are there any benefits for solar energy upgrades at the moment for landlords with rental properties? Well, including investments on the solar energy has some benefits and on the income tax declaration. As on investment it goes part of investment to reduce in some way the base to be taxed. Yes, the answer is yes. We'll go through that specific issues in a few minutes. Do we resubmit Model 210 for the past period? Or if so, can we submit an annual return on the earlier years? Does it have to be quarterly, or is just to apply for? It's like to rectify what has been done. It's to claim what has been done with the argument that is unfair, is incorrectly, and to rectify. It's not really a Model 210. It's really an application to apply for on writing and obviously to change this Model 210. And it should be done in every year, in my opinion, in this case. Okay, let's go to more question. As my property is not let, this is not relevant to me. However, if you ever offer, I have recently moved to Spain and will become tax resident in January. I have a reverse issue and renting property in London and being, well, Ignacio, let's explain a little bit about how it works really about the double taxation treaties between Spain and any other country, let's say for the UK. And if you are resident in Spain with a property in the UK, rental property that you get an income, what do you have to do in Spain about this rental?
Okay, Pedro, the question that you're making is whether as a non-resident or as a tax resident, you mean?
No, well, as a resident in Spain, because I mean, this is a reverse situation. Is there someone which is resident in Spain that has a property in the UK and is rental? We have plenty of clients with this scenario that has properties and they are renting the properties there in the UK, but they are residents in Spain because they apply for residence in Spain, and they are.
Yeah. Yeah, they will have to declare all the income and all the expenses and the taxes that they have paid in the UK or the US as a no taxpayer. for example, the dual taxation treaty allows countries to tax properties as a no-tax resident. So let's say you have an income of 10,000 euros, expenses of 2,000 euros, and a tax of 500 euros. All these figures you should provide it to your accountant. So they will be able to work out the net figure. And if you're a tax resident in Spain, if it's a long term, you could deduct up to now 50% of the net. So 50% of the net from now onwards is tax free if it's long term. Obviously, this does not apply to the non resident taxpayers in Spain. So I assume you will have to do the other way around. You will have to pay in Spain the non-resident tax, and then in your home country, you will have to inform your accountant about how much tax have you paid abroad to deduct it. Okay, so that's basically how it will work. It is important to lodge your income tax return on time, and I remember 183 days in Spain, you will become tax resident. Less than 183 days in Spain, you will be no tax resident. Okay, you could always change your status anytime, but it is important you inform the Inland Revenue about this move, and you will have to update it. But we could always do tax planning. Okay, you could always make a decision. Whether you're going to be tax resident next year or no tax resident this year. It is quite important for you to discuss this subject with your lawyer, with your accountant, because the whole thing is correct, is legal, is acceptable. I know it will have an effect on the visas, because nowadays non-lucrative visas, you need to be more than 183 days or more than 6 months. So that will have an impact on that type of visa. So I know Pedro, is a big decision about whether you're a tax resident, you're a no tax resident, and how does affect for a non-European country because they require a visa. So what typical question, Pedro, is I have a non-lucrative visa, but I want to be no tax resident. Okay, now with the new law, this is quite difficult because with a non-lucrative visa to renew the immigration office is going to ask you to be more than 6 months. So it is quite it's quite important. Okay, I don't know if you want to add anything here, Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if as in the visas, in this case, the non-lucrative visa you mentioned, if you want to, the first application is for 1 year, then it's 2 years, whenever you want to renew, you need to show and prove that you've been at least half of the period resident in Spain, which means that if you become resident, for example, at the end of a year, that year, the calendar year on taxes, you will not be tax resident, even though you are resident, which is, it looks like a contradiction, but it is how it works. A period of time of a calendar year on taxes is from 1st of January to 31st of December. And you become tax resident, you become resident at the end of a year, that year you are not resident for tax purposes. The following year, you probably, or must, you will be, because you need to renew in case you want to renew, because if not, you will not renew. So you have to go back and then apply back again. And if you apply back again, and maybe the immigration office says, oh, well, what happened? You already had this, and then you didn't renew, and then you apply for that, you may be rejected in this case. Let me answer one question because I have not been very clear with Sharon. Says, sorry, I'm not clear. Do we submit amended Model 210 or do we contact tax office? Well, it needs to be a rectification. Is like to rectify this model, which needs to be at this model of 210, apart with this kind of application in order to apply the rectification. This 210 you already did. 210 is a new and provisional as far as your arguments are, and the difference is what needs to be paid back. Obviously, if there is a positive, an outcome is positive, as Esther is saying, for you, the administration is obligated to pay, even if it is retrospectively. This is why we say retroactividad or retroactividad irretrospectively, which you are able to apply back 4 years. 4 years.
Pedro, I forgot to mention, the way the tax office is at the moment, I mean, and this is a good question from Sheldon, Canadian, and they're saying, do I really need to have paper documentation for those expenses? Well, you don't have to have it to submit the petition and to redo your non-resident income tax return and claim it back. But I'm pretty sure that the tax office would like to see, because Pedro, I'm not very positive that tax office will pay money back without seeing the receipt. Because they already
It's gonna
got
put
the
the ball. It's gonna put the ball in you. People will have to make obviously have everything accurate, everything perfectly, and make some effort in terms of demonstrate all those deductions that you are saying. Yes, that's right.
Mhm. Yeah, I really think it's going to happen, Pedro. Two things. For those who are going to start doing this now the right way, according to the doctrine, I don't think many inspections are going to come because of that, because you're already paying less and probably. But when you start an action against the tax office and then you want them to pay you back because you've done a first submission and now you do a second submission because you will need to redo the 4 years non-resident income tax return, I'm sure, and I would recommend probably on this mission to provide all paperwork and a summary, because they want to be clear of that. And if you don't provide it, it's nothing wrong, but I think they're going to request it and it's going to start buying time. So you're going to spend more time. Now they're requesting these and now you need to get it. And the problem we have, Pedro, with the banks is nowadays, if you want to check with your bank 3 years behind, it's very, very hard to get all these documents. So you're going to have a little bit of work trying to go with the with your bank manager to go and run through all the expenses, all the receipts. It's not going to be that straightforward, you see. So what I would recommend you to do, contact your bank, try to get all the statements, make sure, or if you could, with the providers, if possible, try to get the proper invoice if you have water, electric, as much as you have. I know sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you spend some money in cash and you didn't pay the VAT or you didn't have a proper invoice. You will not be able to deduct that expense. Okay. But this is something that I would recommend you to do. So one is to resubmit according to the new figures. Two, provide them with paperwork. Pedro, are we missing any other question here? I think Trevor is asking about the non-lucrative visas.
A link for the non-lucrative visa says, do I pay property gain tax, capital gains tax, on the sale of my property in the UK if I become resident with a non-lucrative visa?
This is a good question.
That's a good question. When you are resident in Spain, obviously you are tax resident in Spain. This is why it's important to identify if you which year is the first year that you become tax resident. As I said before, the example I said before, you become resident, let's say today, 16 September. And at the end, from now until the 31st of December, will not be longer, will not be more than 183 days. So for sure, 2025, you will not be tax resident in Spain. What if you sell the property while you are resident in Spain, but you sell it in November, or maybe the 31st of December, during this period of time that you are resident? But this year, you are non-resident for tax purposes. For if you sell a property, UK property, Spanish tax office has nothing to say. You don't have to declare that. But next year, you will be spending more than 180 days. So if that is the case, then any income you may have in the world, not just in Spain, which includes also any gain that you may have selling a property in the UK, you will have to declare it in Spain. According to the double taxation treaty between Spain and UK, you may have to pay some taxes in the UK and then declare it in Spain and deduct any tax that you paid in the UK, deducted in Spain. This is not in terms of not to pay double taxes. And if the property that you sell is a property that has been your main home in the United Kingdom, then you may be able to get some benefits. First of all, if you sell it while you are in Spain, this is important to say, while you are in Spain in the following 2 years, if the property you are selling is your main home, which means that you've been living in that property at least 3 years in the past before you become resident in Spain, you are able to sell that property, and that property do not lose the concept of being your main home until 2 years' time that you are resident in Spain. So that property in the UK still keeps maintain the concept of main resident while you are really living in a different property in Spain for 2 years. If during that time, between 2 years, you sell the property, perfect. You will be able to, maybe, if you are not older than 65, you will be able to reinvest, and those that money that you reinvest, you will be able to deduct and not pay capital gain tax. And if you are older, 65, then will not be tax to pay. Older than 65, a main home, there is no tax to pay. Okay.
Pedro, I will take the liberty here to share with the audience our blog. If you click in our website and you go into a blog, you will go into Expert Magazine, which is a magazine we have created. You could learn a lot about capital gains tax on property in Spain sale if you're a resident and if you are a non-resident. Pedro did cover that, but at least you've got it on writing there. You've got a lot of information as well. If you go into our website, you click on the blog, and then depending on the topics, we have the dual taxation treaties. Obviously, we have examples about specific situations, investments, a lot of information for you to take in and learn a little bit more about. And then if you need to organize an appointment, we could always do eventually whenever it's suitable for you, either through video conference or physically, which is always nice. Pedro, are we missing anything? I mean, Eva is asking if we could help people doing income tax return in the UK. Unfortunately, we don't do income tax return abroad. I mean, we understand how it works. In the States, we understand how it works as well, but we don't file that for clients. We only file national in Spain. It doesn't matter whether you are in Costa Blanca or Madrid, Catalonia, or anywhere else in Spain. Okay. So sorry for that, but probably you might find somebody else that we could recommend.
Well, we can also make some recommendations as well. Yeah. And
okay, Pedro. Anything else? I don't know if you did.
Anything else? It's important. It's important in these issues as well. We always when we attend clients, not just because of this, because of many other issues, it's important to know the double taxation treaty between Spain and the country that the money comes from. In terms of if you are resident in Spain, in this case, if you are resident in Spain. Why it's important? Because obviously you need to be identified whether you need to pay taxes in Spain, maybe not, or what kind of limitations has that income in the home country, and also how to deduct this money is being paid in home country and deducted in Spain while resident. It's extremely important to identify these issues in the double taxation treaties between Spain and just to summarize what we've been speaking during this from 5 o'clock. Evaluate this with your tax advisor, which is the amount of money that you have been paid and what you have paid really at the end, and evaluate the cost. And why not? Obviously, we don't want to push clients to do it, but obviously we recommend to do it in terms of as a principle. So, and obviously have some work in order to revise, to make another model of 210 in terms of make rectifications on that. But it's something that, as a principle, I think is something that tax office expect that not too much people is going to do it. As we understand it, it's been starting to apply for these rectifications. And we'll see where this finalized, but according to some of the stories with the same scenario as finalized, we expect that it's going to be a positive outcome at the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Pedro, I think we did cover most of it. I'm not sure if we did miss anything. Marta is being assisting here as well with all these quick questions. Obviously, I don't know if you did cover, Pedro, but if you didn't rent out the property, you will not be able to deduct any expense. It's just like a flat tax, depending whether 24% or 90% of the cadastral value. Okay, so it's not it's according to cadastral value, a percentage, obviously 1% or 2% of that, and out of that is 19% or 24%, right? 19 for Europeans, 24 for non-Europeans. Okay, that's how far. And to the question of, I think it was Sophie. Yes, we do represent Canadians resident in Spain or non-resident, but we don't file the taxes in Canada. Okay, so we only file in Spain through our team, tax team, which is Marta, Guillermo, Juan. And but we are able to help you and assist you, or probably organize video conference with your advisors over there, but we cannot file it. We don't have license for this country. Okay.
Actually, with the Canadian double taxation treaty between Spain and Canada, there are some issues that are different from other kind of convention between Spain and some other countries. Normally, there is like a standard written convention, but with Canada is some slightly changes and some specifications, some issues that needs to be understood in order to do it well and not to pay more than what it should be paid.
Well, as I said, I will leave you here in the, I mean, obviously all these messages will disappear when we finish. If you copy and paste, that would be great. We are happy to meet you in person. Obviously, thank you for being with us 1 hour of our time. I hope it was useful. Thank you, Pedro, very much for your time today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ignacio.
Marta.
And thank you, Marta.
Thank you, all of you, for listening. And Juanfra, thank you very much for your time as well. I would like you to share with them just a quick video, and then hopefully we'll meet each other in the future in our office. See you soon. See you in the next webinar. Thank you. Bye for now.
Trust is vital when you're in another country. If you want to buy a home, set up business relationships, or apply for a residence permit, you need to be able to count on the best independent legal aid. Pellicer and Heredia is an international firm of lawyers with over 20 years' experience and one single aim: for you to live at ease in Spain. In order to give you a clear, streamlined, and fast response, we work with a cross-disciplinary team of professionals specializing in the main legal fields: civil law, foreigners' affairs, business law, tax and financial law, and international law. And to ensure that you're kept informed and up to date with everything, we have 6 offices on the Eastern Coast. Whether you're from here or abroad, we will always stand by you and speak your language. Our relationship is based on openness, professionalism, and a commitment to finding legal solutions in your best interests and for your peace of mind. Pellicer and Heredia, international lawyers.